Time for some extrema. Now the first part of this section, we're going to focus on intervals of increasing and decreasing behavior. So, for this particular section, when you're trying to write out intervals of increasing and decreasing behavior with a given graph, just like this one right here, you will look from left to right. So starting from the left side, moving all the way to the right side, you would determine which part of the function and which interval that is increasing, meaning it's rising from left to right, or it's constant, being flat, neither increasing nor decreasing, so it's not rising nor falling, and then determine when it's decreasing, meaning falling from left to right. So, in this graph are marked in red, and there's two of them, where it changes either from increasing to decreasing or decreasing to increasing. Now, in here, we don't see any constant because throughout from this end, or the arrow to the other end, you can see it's either going falling or rising, not flat. So, just looking from that graph, there's no constant, but only increasing and decreasing. So, now the first part, now it doesn't matter which order. You can do decreasing first and then increasing, or you do increasing first and then you do decreasing. But you have to be very careful when you're writing your intervals. So, in this first example, this first graph, we're going to focus on increasing. So again, doesn't matter which order, just gotta do it correctly. Increasing is defined as rising from left to right. So the only thing that is rising from left to right is in the middle between these 2 points. So all we're doing is you're just writing the intervals using the x values. So to start from the left, right here is where it starts to rise. So my x value will be 0. So I'm going to write 0 right here, comma, and then go all the way to the end of the rising part, and it stops at x equals 2. So I'm going to write 2. And then that's it. So once I found the endpoints, the intervals of rising, I'm going to put in parentheses. And then that's the only interval for rising. So let's do for decreasing. So starting from the most left will be here. So since this is my most left side and it has an arrow meaning continuously or forever, so that means I would have to start from negative infinity. So I'm going to write negative infinity, comma, and then I'm going to see where it's falling, and it stops falling when x is 0. So I'm going to put 0 here, and I'm going to close it with parentheses. Now that's one interval. Now the reason I know I can't stop here is because I see another section that it's falling. So since there's another section that's decreasing, I'm going to use the same symbol for and in the previous section right here, seeing there's another interval. So starting from the left side of the falling section, you can see right here it starts where x equals 2. So I'm going to write 2 here, comma, and then I see that it's going to continue falling. And since there's an arrow, again, means continuously or forever. So forever, that means infinity. Now, again, even though it's falling down, we use x values for the intervals. So even though it's dramatically going down quickly, I can see that the x values, as it increases to infinity, the graph is going downwards or it's falling. So I'm going to use positive infinity or just infinity and then I will close it with parentheses. So there's no more intervals, there's no more falling. So now my intervals for increasing is from x equals 0 to x equals 2. For decreasing, my x value is from negative infinity all the way to x equals 0. And then my second interval for decreasing is when x equals 2 all the way to x equals infinity. So that's it for the intervals for increasing and decreasing. Oh boy, take a look at the second example. I marked 3 points where it changes from increasing to decreasing and decreasing to increasing. Since there's 3 points, there's 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means there's going to be 4 intervals. So let's start off with increasing. So looking from left to right, increasing is rising. So right here, this is the at most left side where it's rising. So we're going to take a look at the x value, and it starts at negative 1. So I'm going to write negative 1 here, comma. Now we're going to see it's rising, 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 rising all the way to x equals 0. So I'm going to write 0 here, and then I'm going to close it with parentheses. And then I see another section that's rising. So I'm going to use that U symbol for and take a look at the left side of the increasing part or the rising part. So x equals 1. So I'm going to write off with 1, comma. So I'm going to see where it's going to stop. So it's increasing or rising, 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 rising. Oh wait, there's an arrow. So that means it's going to go on continuously or forever. So my x value for going on forever is infinity. And I'm going to close it with parentheses. So that's it for increasing part. Now let's do the decreasing part. Starting off with the most left side. So over here, oh, there's an arrow, meaning continuously or forever. So since it's on the left side and it starts from the left side, that means it's going to start from negative infinity, comma. So let's take a look. For decreasing, it's falling. So falling, 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 falling all the way to x equals negative 1. So I'm going to write negative 1. And then I'm going to close it for that interval. And I see there's another part that's falling. So I'm going to write that U symbol for and. And I see from the left side of the falling section, it starts at x equals 0. So I'm going to write 0 here, comma. So it's falling, falling, falling all the way to x equals 1. So I'm going to write 1 here. And then I'm going to end it with parentheses. So we have 2 intervals for increasing and 2 intervals for decreasing. So what you have to keep in mind is, or you don't have to worry about, is just use parentheses when dealing with intervals of increasing and decreasing behavior. Same thing with constant. Parentheses only. You don't have to worry about open or closed circles. So that means there shouldn't be any brackets whatsoever. So just parentheses for the intervals for either increasing, constant, or decreasing. And all these numbers, these symbols, ties in with the x values. So your domain. So basically just like in the previous section, find domain and range. So all we're doing is just doing the domain of increasing, domain for decreasing.